Oh, you should all hear this. The weather report says we're in for a rare treat tonight, shooting stars. Well, I think I know what we need to tackle today. Hi everyone, I'm Katabulous, your weird millennial aunt, social studies nerd, esoteric media lover, and purveyor of chill. We're back on my Forever Island honey cake, where we are tackling some major renovations all around the island for our spring cleaning initiative. In our last honey cake episode, we designed the headquarters for the Honey Cake Gardening Society, a little club for my villagers where we can steadily work on breeding all the different flower varieties that Animal Crossing has to offer. I've been pretty casual about flower breeding for most of this island's lifespan, partly because I got a pretty solid dose of flower breeding madness on my 2024 island, Puddlesoft, where I bred every single flower and essentially just dedicated the entire island to my love of the ACNH flower management. But this is my Forever Island, and that means we're going full-blown completionist mode, which includes getting every flower eventually. I was so excited to see Plucky roaming the Gardening Society build today. She is a member of this club in my headcanon, and it just felt so perfect. Obviously, I tried to take a picture, and obviously she was not interested in posing for me. You know what? That's okay. Plucky is a free spirit. She does what she's gonna do, and she does not care what you think. And we love her for that. I am simply obsessed with how the Gardening Society turned out. This whole cliff area of my island is dedicated to learning and studying and hands-on education, and it's finally coming together the way I envisioned. But there's plenty of work still to do, so let's get into it. This final corner of my cliff is going to be my history museum. And I know you might say, why would you want to make a museum build when there's already a museum in-game? But this concept is super important to me. I am a history-obsessed girlie. My undergraduate degree is in history, my master's is in social studies education. I was a history educator for 11 years. History is my life and passion, and it honestly just influences the entire way that I look at and interact with the world. So what I'm planning for this area is that it's going to be very open, almost a generic skeleton that I can change and update with whatever history topics I want to explore on my channel and in my Twitch streams. I want it to be dynamic and adaptable, where I can literally curate exhibits for my own little history museum. We're living the dream here on our Forever Island. But first I have to figure out how to make this blend in with the rest of the island's flow. I'm planning to put my campsite in the open space on the tier below, so I have to come up with some kind of partition and transition up on the cliff that will kind of obscure everything going on back here. I do like that it's kind of tucked away in the corner. It's going to give me space to rebuild it whenever I want without disrupting the flow of the rest of the island. So what you're seeing now is footage of me experimenting with different ideas for pathing and fencing and having to climb down below to see if I like the way it looks from a distance. Since this is my Forever Island that I actually do play on, not one that I'm just decorating, it's a constant negotiation in my head where I'm balancing aesthetic with ease of play. For context, I designed my island from the earliest days of my Year in the Life speedrun challenge with a kind of loop that would give me smooth access to all parts of the island, and the front center of the island is where most of my core island buildings are. This corner is kind of the meeting point of the upper tier, where all my education builds are, and I need to create a smooth flowing path that leads to the outer loop on the level below. It's that whole ease of play thing. I want any given section of the island to be straightforward for me to get to. This was definitely an area I had to experiment with for a while before I liked the way things flowed into it. I did end up incorporating a small piece of terraforming and some trees to just kind of obscure how much space is back there, so that the History Museum can just be its own isolated space. I'm not going to do the actual build of that in this video, but humor me if you will with a clip of this little tangent from my last decorating stream where I just started rambling about history, because that's really how excited I am for the future of this area. This whole cliff really is sort of just like educational in nature, but this corner back here is going to be the History Museum, and I'm going to make it so that I can periodically change it up. So like the theme of what's on display at the History Museum will change, but it will always be tied deeply to a topic that I like research and obviously will share with everyone because I just love history. You guys know I do. I also kind of have a degree in it, so I guess there's that too. Degree schmagree. Nothing wrong with being a history nerd. I mean, personally, I don't know how anyone lives their lives without being a history nerd. It's just the most important thing, actually. There are so many history books on my shelf that I have either read some of, but not all of, or I picked it up like at a thrift store or something being like, well, definitely I want to read this about the Spanish Civil War, because I do. But there's a lot of unread books. There's way more read books, don't get me wrong. I have read many books about the histories, but I've been thinking about a couple recently that I would like to go back and finish. There's one called The Many-Headed Hydra, and it's very interesting. It's specifically about like the history of trade on the Atlantic and kind of colonialism in the Americas, but specifically reframing that history from the perspective of the working class. Because so much of the way that history is taught is just about like Christopher Columbus and, you know, the people who commissioned ships and kings and nations, and like what actually makes that time period significant is the laborers and the unnamed legions of working class people who actually changed the world, you know. It's not only the people with big names and big pockets, they're just the ones who get included in the story, but none of it actually happens without the proletariat, so, you know. Extrapolate, you know, whatever pinko message you would like to get from that. Once I was satisfied with the framing of the cliff, I paid a visit to Tom Nook to get construction started on a log staircase. I hemmed and hawed over the placement of this incline for a while because I wanted the connection to that bridge up there to feel natural, but I think it's going to work out. Now that I've established the framing for that exciting future build, we're going to move on to the main event of today's episode. Isabel said we were due for a meteor shower tonight, so that's fully got me inspired to fill out this raised area behind our museum that I want to use to make a stargazing cliff for Celeste. I had a simple little stargazing cliff for her in the past, but this time we're really going to lock in and give Celeste everything she deserves. You may have noticed a bunch of dropped furniture items laid out on the path below. That's just one of my go-to strategies these days for decorating. There are just so many items in this game, and it's hard to remember where things are stored. On top of the fact that I just have chronic scatterbrain. So sometimes it helps me to pick things out that I want from storage and just lay them out before I start decorating. I can't explain it, it just works better for my brain this way than having everything shoved in my pockets. Also, if you saw my last episode, a bit of a longer Let's Play style, I am perpetually a victim of full pocket syndrome. Now, for Celeste's cliff, I've used my favorite little decorative tile custom codes to extend the stone staircase with a path that leads to the edge of the cliff. And I'm filling in the rest of the area with scattered placements of this cobblestone code that I fell in love with when I was decorating the area by the museum entrance. I then decided to frame the end of this walkway with 2 crescent moon chairs. I mean, why mess with perfection? This item is just so fun and so perfect for a celestial themed area. I think we all know that. How darling is this little set piece? With the cobblestone, I'm trying to place them as organic looking as possible. I don't want it to look too clean or too repetitive. I like the idea that this area is only partially paved over, maybe a little worn by time, but it still gives it a bit more visual interest than just leaving the plain in-game grass. In terms of framing the outer edges of the cliff, I was a bit cautious. The area is not super huge, so I didn't want it to feel suffocated, but I did use a bit of the iron and stone fencing, as well as a couple of the low screens to enclose the space a bit, like it's a little terrace. And as an exciting side note, while I was customizing items for the build, I managed to at long last close out one of my Nook Mile achievements for Furniture Freshener, customizing over 200 items in total for my island. We love to see it on a completionist run. I also decided to sprinkle in some of the glowing moss. I haven't used this anywhere else on this island yet. but I feel like it will add a little ethereal touch to set this special cliff top apart, and it will go nicely with the glowing nova items at night. Next up comes the furniture items. I do see the cliff as an extension of the museum, so the idea is that you can come up here and join Celeste in stargazing and star charting, maybe learn a bit about the cosmos and even some astrology sprinkled in for fun. So I'm putting out some cozy seating with the telescope and some tables with all kinds of miscellaneous stuff. Like, this is sort of supposed to be where Celeste does her research. This is definitely a fun opportunity to incorporate a level of whimsy that I don't have everywhere else on the rest of the island, and use some unique items like the different zodiac DIYs and this jar item from the Zelda collection. I'm not personally an astrology girly. It's not something that ever really caught my interest, and as a result, I can't claim to know much about it. Like, I know a little bit. But as a history nerd, I don't think it's insignificant that thousands of years of human civilizations have been invested in the night sky and using their observations of those faraway heavenly bodies to try and create meaning in our lives here on this little blue marble. I've been reading this book recently, A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bryson. Shout out to whoever on Threads recommended this title for my latest library visit. And it's been really fascinating because it's a little outside of my normal genre of nonfiction reading. It's written in an accessible way for the average reader, like you don't have to be a science scholar to make sense of it. But it starts by diving into the history of the universe and the formation of planets and stars and just all this cosmology stuff that I honestly never spent much time thinking about before. And yeah, it kind of makes sense to me why even the most ancient scholars have tried understanding what all the little sparkly things in the sky are. Like, it's easy to get caught up in the most immediate things that make up most of our daily life, but when you dive into the hugeness of the universe, it definitely humbles you and reminds you to appreciate how truly statistically magnificent it is, that in all the harsh chaos of the cosmos, there exists a planet where life was able to form and become the rich and detailed story that is our human history. The fact that the Earth even exists and hosts millions of life forms, including a life form like us that has created its own enormous tradition of knowledge, and then we did things like make governments and religions and invent these little computer boxes that let us simulate the complexity of this existence and this history is like, whoa. Okay, sorry. I wasn't trying to get too existential on you there, but yeah, cosmology is cool. Celeste gets it. So now we've got one side of the cliff finished, and we're moving on to the other side. Over here, I want to try and squeeze in as many of the zodiac DIYs as I can. These items are so cool, but they can be hard to use other than in very specific builds. Of course, we have one of my favorite of the items, the Capricorn statue. I myself am a Capricorn, and I actually built an entire island called Capricorn that I used to make a dreamy winter party paradise with all of my favorite things, as kind of a birthday present to myself. I do have a tour of that island on the channel that you can check out if you want. I used a ton of Capricorn statues on that one. I don't think I have all the zodiac DIYs yet, to be honest. I don't typically play at night. My island is most cozy to me in the chipper sunlight, so I probably haven't had as many encounters with Celeste as I should. So hopefully this build will inspire me to log in more often in the evenings to check for her visits. I'm really having so much fun with this build. Like, there are no rules here. It's vaguely science-y, but I'm also super cool with giving it vibes that are also more science fiction, or just straight up magic or mysticism. One of the cool things about A Short History of Nearly Everything is that the author wasn't just interested in explaining the science of the cosmos. He wanted to document the history of the history, the discoveries and competing theories all throughout history of people trying to figure out what the universe really is. And it's really fascinating to me that for everything we know today, there is still so much that we don't know. Science is a journey of discovery that includes far more mistakes and being totally wrong than being right. And there's something about that that comforts me. We should always stay curious and stay searching for answers. But we should embrace the extremely important human experience of failing and being wrong a lot. It's totally healthy. One chapter in particular ends with a really poetic anecdote. It's about a man named Robert Evans, who is known in cosmology circles for how many supernovas he's been able to observe and document, just as a hobbyist using his telescope from home and spending hours each night watching the skies. The odds of actually catching and noticing a supernova are apparently like crazy low, because it just takes so much patience and chance and the ability to be extremely observant. Since he started doing this, they now have more advanced technology that makes it a lot easier for scientists to scan the skies for supernovas. But Evan still prefers his old-fashioned way. He likes the human touch of it, the quiet exploration. When interviewed by the author, Evans also said that even when he doesn't find anything, it's still scientifically relevant. Finding nothing helps establish the rate of the galaxy's growth. Absence of evidence itself is evidence, he says. The humanity nerd in me just found that so beautiful. Stillness and quiet and continuity are just as essential in our lives as change and movement and productivity. Now, I think I'm pretty happy with what we've designed on our cliff, but the real test, of course, will be to see it at night. So I've time traveled to after 8 p.m. so we can check out our build under the stars and, of course, hunt for Celeste to get a new DIY recipe. Oh wait, hey, look who we have as a tourist. It's Dobie. I think he's kind of a fitting guest for tonight. Maybe he came to howl at the moon, you know? Ooh, or maybe he's an old biker friend of Butch's. I actually love that lore for us. Dobie totally would have been in a biker gang with Butch. New fan art wish unlocked. Now let's see if we can find Celeste anywhere. Can you imagine if she actually showed up in the actual area that we built for her? Somehow I doubt I'll be that lucky, but a girl can hope. It's time for the moment of truth now. Let's check out the stargazing build at night and see if Celeste was tempted to hang out here. Okay, she's not here. That's okay though. It still looks beautiful. These Nova items are just too cute. I am starting to wonder if maybe there's too many items up here for Celeste to actually spawn in this area. So I might have to look into that. But the build is awesome. I'm really pleased with what we've got here. This has been on my honey-do list for a while, and it's definitely lived up to my expectations. As I zip around hunting for Celeste, I also want to quickly apologize that this honeycake episode is coming out a little later than I had planned. These past 2 weeks, I have been super busy doing prep work to go to a convention, where I was accepted to present a panel all about the Tron franchise. The panel was actually a condensed version of the super mega huge video essay that I've been working on for months. So that will be coming to my channel soon. I had so much fun sharing my panel, and I was really excited to be able to do it. But it did end up taking a lot of my time to get ready. And I spent the week before picking up extra shifts at work and doing tipathon streams over on Twitch to try and raise money for the gas and hotel to get there. So forgive me for just a moment while I give a shout out to everyone who contributed to my Ko-fi goal. I'm super grateful to everyone that helped give me the opportunity to make it there and promote my content to a new audience and share the things I love. Thank you guys. And if you're enjoying the vibes here, this is a reminder that a totally free way to support me in making more of this content is to subscribe and like the video, or leave a comment to give a little boost. This is truly the first time I've seen my island at night in a while, and it is super cozy. I put a lot of garden lanterns out along my trail early on to help with lighting in the evening hours, and it definitely helps make the island feel more inviting at night. Lighting goes a long way. Even though I don't play in the evening often, I still think it's worth taking into consideration what all of the builds look like at night. The playability aesthetic balance matters at all hours and in all seasons. So this is stuff I like to think about when it comes to curating my ideal Forever Island. I saw Bud's lights on, so I had to pause my Celeste hunt momentarily. He's still new here, so I have to make sure I'm checking in on him regularly. He wants to teach me how to make a beekeeper's hive. Oh, Bud, this is how we know you're new here. The list of DIYs I don't have grows shorter all the time, but that does make the possibility of finding something new for my villagers increasingly unlikely. Someday I'll have that full collection. Someday. Good thing we've got forever. I do at last see Celeste right here in the plaza, but I'm distracted by Chevra with a thought bubble. I adore Chevra, but I wouldn't mind if she wanted to leave. But she's just looking for someone to come over. Girl, what do you mean it's the weather? Do you not see this beautiful meteor shower happening? Who would want to hang out inside on a night like tonight? Now let's talk to the woman of the hour, our dear Celeste. Obviously, she's a busy, in-demand woman, and she has to chat with everyone in the plaza before she heads up to check out her brand new observatory. I'm so excited to see what astronomical recipe she gave us. Let's check it out. Oop, wait, shooting stars incoming. Ooh, the yellow rug. That's a very fun one. Thank you so much, Celeste. This has truly been a delightful and productive day. Nothing left to do but bask in our stargazing build and wait for shooting stars. And of course do a photo shoot and take a million pictures. I truly need to clean out the photo gallery on my Switch. I am in constant danger of not being able to capture adorable moments because my storage is always so close to full. And if you think this is where we're ending the Honeycake Stargazing episode, you'd be wrong. Because imagine my surprise when the very next day, Isabel announced another meteor shower. So we may as well enjoy another day on the island, take care of more of the ongoing spring cleaning project, and then settle in for some more shooting stars. The day starts with an oddly threatening letter from Butch. I'm sure he's kidding, but also it kind of sounds like he wants to fight me. Clearly he had a wild night with his old buddy Dobie last night and he's a little riled up. You can take the dog out of the biker gang, but you can't take the biker gang out of the dog. We are also blessed with one of the absolute cutest tourists today. It is sweet Lucy, and she looks so cute in this little yellow outfit. Lucy was on my very first island, and I just love her so much. Maybe I should do a tour of my original island someday. It's definitely nothing impressive at all, but I do think the nostalgia of it could be fun. Let me know in the comments if that's something you guys want to see. Next, I pop in to see my best boy Sparrow. I'm always curious to see what weird outfit he's picked out for the day. I truly don't know how or when he got this weird little sailor shirt, and I've yet to figure out a lore reason for it. Explain yourself, Sparrow. It feels appropriate to have Sparrow's house right by the playground. I can totally see him hosting workouts here. I like my playground well enough, but I can't help but feel like it's just missing something. I don't know. I keep looking it over each day. Maybe inspiration will strike eventually. Next up, we check in with Chevra, who's going to teach me a cooking recipe I definitely already know. I'm almost positive I have all the cooking recipes, so when I see a villager at their kitchen set, it's already a bit of a letdown. No new DIY today, I guess. We've got two legendary cuties doing their morning aerobics in the plaza, Olive and Plucky, my queens. And Leaf is here, but he doesn't have any greenery for sale that I'm especially in need of. I do my other dailies like collecting last night's star fragments from the beach and checking the turnip prices. Jump scare warning for chops and tie-dye, by the way. And then it's back to building. Oh, my pockets are full? Of course they are. I ordered this campsite sign yesterday because that's what I'd like to turn this corner here into. The idea is that this winding path leading up to it is going to become a scenic hiking trail for our tourists. The hotel is just down the way, so guests can either cross the bridge to go into town from the pier, or they can enjoy the natural beauty of Honeycake and take a nature walk. I also have to keep in mind how the approach to this new build is going to look if you come from this direction, where my market street is. I played around for a while with some of my favorite codes, but eventually, you know what? I just decided to keep the straightforward dirt path. Sometimes simple is truly best, and that's something I constantly have to remind myself on this island. I've got two decorative little swatches leading up to the incline and all the features of the education cliff, if that's where our tourists want to explore. And now I need to figure out what to do for the campsite. I'd like the campsite to feel like its own little secluded cove, so I experiment with a small bit of terraforming and just the tiniest waterfall. Waterscaping is still something I struggle with, especially when it's confined to just a few tiles, but I'm glad I'm at least making the attempt. I'm always so impressed with people that think outside the box with their waterscaping and are able to sprinkle in small water features in an area where I would think it was too crowded to fit one in. I think this looks alright. It's subtle, but it definitely breaks up the area nicely. I also need to line the back of the area with a bunch of trees to create even more visual separation from the cliff above. And then it's time to talk to Tom Nook about finally relocating our campsite to somewhere more exciting than the beach. This feels like a very solid outline for our future campsite. I like that I've managed to give it its own relaxing corner. And now you have a bit of a preview of the next episode of Honeycake. Once the camping plot is fully moved in, I'll be able to start giving this area some decor and personality. There is one final touch I think I can add today though. I always feel weird about water that just starts on a cliff with no clear source. I know I should just let it go, it's seriously not that deep, and you can have a lot more fun decorating when you stop wanting everything to make logical sense. But I'm still gonna experiment with some items. I actually kind of love the way this Keroppi bridge looks. It's a lovely contained water feature with a stellar pop of color. But then I feel even weirder about having a bridge that goes to nothing on top of a cliff than I do about water that comes from nowhere. I've got this pond stone item as well, but it doesn't have enough wow factor when you're looking up at the cliff from the path below. Ultimately, I land on this new statue item from the Zelda collection. Full disclosure, I know literally nothing of Zelda, but so many of the new furniture items from this collection are so beautiful. I dropped down some of my puddle codes so that maybe it will look like there's just water dripping out of this strange mossy reservoir. And I think I can get down with the way this looks. Logical? Not entirely, but visually exciting? Yes. Now to finish it off with some greenery and flowers, and by golly, I think we've got ourselves a mini terraforming build. Another productive but still easygoing day on Honeycake in the books. Now it's time to end it off with another celestial evening of shooting stars. 2 meteor showers back to back. We literally manifested this with our stargazing build. Oh look, Gruff wants to talk to us. He thought of me when he was cleaning his attic and found a groovy tunic. Okay, that's actually perfect. Gruff, you know me so well. You're such a real one. I also ran into Bud, our newest villager, so of course I had to give him a present. We're still in those early days of buttering him up with friendship, so he'll eventually give me his photo. I actually did see him earlier, chatting with Pearl, so it's nice to see him integrating himself into the community. However, it is clear to me from this interaction that Pearl is playing him for a fool. We all know, we have all seen, that Pearl can be positively savage when she puts her mind to it. So Pearl pretending not to know how to show rage so that Bud can teach her is top tier trolling, to be honest. I love my babies and their drama. I really do. Since we still need to keep hunting for Celeste, let's talk more about a short history of nearly everything. I also learned some really fascinating things about Isaac Newton in this book too. Like, Newton is obviously a famous name to all of us. He invented calculus and established basic laws of physics and is credited with discovering gravity. So many of the things he wrote about have continued to be mathematically and scientifically sound. Centuries later, his work is still the foundation of so much basic science is built on. But at the same time, he was also a bit wacky. He was obsessed with conspiracy theories surrounding Catholic mysticism and spent just as much time inventing calculus as he did with alchemy. You know, the very much disproven, not real science of trying to turn base metals into gold and creating immortality elixirs. They also did tests on strands of Newton's hair long after his death and discovered extremely high levels of mercury, which causes psychosis. So I think there's something poetic to take away there too. The same person who uncovered brilliant truths about the universe was also known to be erratic, incoherent, obsessed with alchemy, and suffering from mercury poisoning. It's inspiring for us regular folk to hear stuff like that, I think. Stay curious, stay dreaming, but also stay humble. You can be brilliant and be foolish at the same time. We're all just human. And that's really what I enjoy when I play on my Forever Island and when I make these videos for you guys. I love immersing myself in all the silliness and maybe trivialness of my island and building this little simulated life for my villagers on Honeycake. But I also like the quiet, slow work of it and really just being able to reflect on real life things I want to learn about and things I'm experiencing and things I just want to meditate on for the sake of my mental health. My Animal Crossing island gives me a space to play, but also a space to meditate and wonder about things. And you know what? I hate to say it, but I never did find Celeste this night. I did countless more loops around the island, and I felt like I was really checking everywhere, but I just never found her. A little anticlimactic perhaps, but I guess that's just how days end sometimes. I hope you have a lovely evening, morning, week, whenever you're watching this video, and thanks so much for hanging out with me on Honeycake today. If you enjoyed your time here, please consider subscribing and dropping a like on the video. You can also check me out on Twitch for live gaming, as well as co-working and chatting streams that I do for body doubling and productivity. I'll be back soon with more Honeycake adventures, so until then, take it easy.